They found the first skull buried deep in a French cave, heavy, cracked, unlike ours. The brow jutted forward like the prow of a ship meant to take impact. The nasal cavity was wide, gaping, built for a world colder than ours. The jaw, thick with muscle once, now stone silent. It wasn't a monster. It was another human, and it was older than anything we'd called us. This wasn't a relic of prehistory. This was a rival, a sibling species. The brow was thick like armor. The face broad, brutal, and almost sorrowful, like it remembered something we'd forgotten. It was a Neanderthal. And for a moment, staring into that hollow gaze, one question refused to die. What if they had won? What if history had tilted just slightly? What if this world, our world, was theirs? Forget the cartoons. Forget the cavemen grunting in shadows. They weren't dumb. They weren't slow. They weren't even that different. Their tools were refined, some so sharp they rival surgical steel. They shaped spears to hunt megafauna twice their size. They wove sinew, sharpened stone, tamed fire not just to survive, but to dominate. They could speak, maybe not with our vowels and verbs, but with breath, gesture, rhythm, enough to warn, enough to mourn, enough to name the dead. They left offerings in graves, painted on cave walls. Somewhere, deep in the darkness of El Castillo, a red disc blooms, more than 40,000 years old, older than our kind. That mark might be theirs. They hunted mammoths in coordinated drives. They stitched hide, built shelters, endured frost that would have shattered us. And in some ways, they were better. Their bones were dense, thick as ashwood, their forearms like hammers, their brains slightly larger than ours, especially in areas linked to vision and control of the body. They weren't dreamers. They were survivors. Eyes trained for depth in snowfall. Hands used to shaping stone like it was memory. Noses built like furnaces warming breath before it touched their lungs. Every inch of them was made for the edge of death. And yet they lived. For 400,000 years they ruled the North. Through glaciations, through extinction pulses, through the long, silent dark. We only showed up in the last 40. A flicker, a rumor. If evolution was fair, if history had been just, they'd be the ones building cities, not us. Now imagine it. Not a dream, not a fantasy, but an alternate lineage, ours severed, and theirs ascended. The world as it could have been. You wake beneath a sky bruised by ancient fire. The air tastes of ash and ice. Mountains loom like frozen titans, and on the cliffside a city stares back. Not built, carved. A fortress hewn from volcanic stone, its edges jagged, its towers low and thick to brace against the wind. No glass, no steel, no concrete, no shimmer of lights across water. Only fire, only stone, and silence. The streets are packed earth. The walls, decorated not with art but bones, trophies, histories, warnings. There are no sirens, no buzzing phones, no neon flickers in the dark. Only the low growl of wind as it scours the coastline and the sound of breath, tight and shallow, in your throat. You are not at the top. You are not the future. You are not even human, not anymore. Because Homo sapiens didn't make it, and Homo neanderthalensis did. they would not have wired the world. They would not have written code or dreamed of galaxies, but they would have mastered the cold. Their empires would spread not by roads, but through passes snow-choked, wind-torn, and deadly. They would have turned bone into blade, teeth into tools, skulls into ritual, nothing wasted, nothing forgiven. Language would live in the hands, sharp motions, ancient rhythms, a vocabulary of survival signs to kill, signs to mourn, signs to remember. They would remember the dead with stone cairns, with painted skulls, with whispered chants in ice-cold caves. And those who died poorly would not be remembered at all. They would not be peaceful. They would not be kind. Mercy would be a myth. But they would endure. They would last, you see. Neanderthals didn't vanish because they were weak. They didn't disappear into myth because they failed. They were erased, not by some great flood, not by a cosmic impact, but by us. We killed them. Maybe not with war cries and armies, maybe not all at once. But we took the land, we took the food, we took the future. We outnumbered them, outbred them, outlasted them. They lived in scattered bands, close-knit, careful. We multiplied like fire, moved like swarms, brought disease, chaos, hunger like shadows with teeth. We were faster, not in body, but in thought, more deceptive. We told stories, made plans, stabbed with words before we ever needed spears, willing to lie, to sacrifice our own, to do what they wouldn't. They didn't know how to cheat. They didn't know how to manipulate. Their strength was honesty. And that is what killed them. In the end, it wasn't tooth or claw. It was something colder, and yet it could have gone the other way. If the Ice Age had lasted longer, if the glaciers had marched just a few centuries more, if a single volcanic winter had cracked open the sky and blackened the crops, then we might have vanished in the snow. Our fires snuffed out, our footprints buried. We'd be the fossil in the dirt, and they'd be the ones standing above us, digging up our bones, studying our skulls, whispering. What were they like? Did they speak? Were they dangerous? But they're not completely gone. They still live inside us. 4% of our DNA in some, more in others. We carry their blood, their silence, their rage. Their shadows flicker behind our eyes, in the way we clench our fists, in the way we fear the dark, the forests, the caves, the cold. We remember them because we are what remains of the ones who didn't survive. Subscribe to Mistafeed.